We've all sort of reached now a level of assumption with Brock Purdy. $55 million next year, whatever. He's certainly proven himself as a good quarterback in the league. Is he going to be great? We'll find out. I am very interested to watch him play football this year. Not because of the obvious. He's the quarterback of the 49ers. But, this is his first offseason as a starting quarterback. He was the starting quarterback last year, but he had gone under the knife. And so this is the first time he's been able to do this. And the reports of him being bigger and having a little bit more sort of swag and a leadership presence on the field, which is also interesting because I feel like the talk before now has always been, oh, he's got a good leadership swag to him. And Larry's like, no, it's now hit another level. And knowing that he is going into the contract conversation, knowing the stress around his wide receiver room and what is on the plate for the 49ers this season, I mean, this is everything that you could ask for. I don't know if they've asked him, and I don't know how great of a character he'd be, but that whole Netflix quarterback series, if I were them, I'd be calling Brock's people and being like, can we follow you this year? This is going to be bananas. You're heading into your bajillion-dollar contractual situation. The whole world thinks you're the Super Bowl favorite again. Your wide receiver room is filled with drama. I mean, my God, what else do you want?
Yeah, as far as drama, you don't want much more than that. And, he comes in, Mr. Irrelevant. That's always going to be a part of his story. And now he's freshly married and he's QB1 of the Niners and coming off a Super Bowl loss. And you look at everything about him, he seems like he's a cookie cutter, great story to follow. And yet, if you're a 49er fan and you saw the way his year ended, 4 of his last 5 games were a few of his worst games of the year from a QB rating standpoint. His 3 playoff games were not as good as he played earlier in the year.
It's true.
So you look at him going into camp and you think, man, how does he get better? Well, he probably needs to get better because you look at your 3 playoff games and he was fine. He was good, but he was better earlier in the year.
No, you're not wrong, although there were interesting characteristics there because what we normally say, and in fact, I think it's what we were saying about Brock during the 3-game losing streak early in the year, what we didn't love were his fourth quarters. We're like, dude, if you want to be the dude, you got to be able to bring your team 80 yards in the fourth quarter and get a touchdown that they have to have. That didn't look good in Minnesota. Cincinnati game, he didn't even really have a chance.
Right.
Cleveland game, I'd argue he did take them on the drive, and then the kicker missed the kick. But
he wasn't good up to that point.
He wasn't great. No, and that game obviously had its own personality and whatnot. But if we do go through the playoffs, when was Brock at his absolute best? I mean, against the Packers, it was when there was 4 minutes to go.
Yep.
And
one drive with 6 minutes to go.
And then against the Lions, you're down 24-7 at half. Did you get a break with the Ayuk play down the field? You sure did.
No doubt.
Did you get a break when Josh Reynolds dropped the ball and said, you sure did. But what'd you do with those breaks? I mean, if you're a quarterback and your team's down by 17 at half and you win a football game by going north of 30 points in the game, when
you get credit for it.
You get some credit for that. So
you had the Ayuk fluke and you had a short field off the Lions turnover. So things definitely broke your way. And then against Kansas City, you could look at the reasons why you didn't win that game. And you could look at Brock Purdy, but I would look at 4 or 5 other things before I looked at Brock Purdy.
Agreed. He was pretty good in the Super Bowl. He wasn't stunning. He wasn't Patrick, but he was pretty good. He was pretty good. He played a fine game. That's the way I'd put it.
And I look at those 3 playoff games, and they all 3 were B- level, and it wasn't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So this is not me to try to nitpick Brock Purdy, but you look at this being his first full time as QB1 in camp. How can you get better? What can you do to get yourself from where you were to being a better quarterback and winning the Super Bowl?
All right, coming up next.